We want to have a one promise to consumers on the one hand and to business on the other hand, and to help them to connect with confidence.
Tell us first how you help companies become more trusted by the consumers.
We provide our merchants with a trust mark, with the reviews, with the buyer protection. And only if the consumers are accepting and are relying on these kind of services, also the business members benefits from it.
First time customer walks into the website, what do they look at?
Well, I guess everyone knows SNOCKS. They're customers of us, and they wanted to find out what is the impact of showing the trust mark in reviews in their advertisement. By displaying symbols like the trust mark or reviews, their ROAS, so their return on advertising spent, increased by 25% on TikTok and on more than 100% on YouTube.
Welcome to the EGN Podcast powered by the E-Commerce Berlin Expo. I'm your host, Efe von Thenen, and today we're exploring one of the most foundational pillars of e-commerce success, trust. In a world where online shopping is more available than ever, getting customers to feel safe on your site can make or break your sales. To help us understand what it really takes to earn that trust, I'm joined by Bastian Kolmsee, Chief Product Officer at Trusted Shops, a company that knows all about creating safe, reliable online experiences. Today, we'll discuss the essentials of building trust signals like customer reviews, security badges, and buyer protection, and why all these small things matter so much in e-commerce. And it's a big deal. With over 32 million e-commerce stores worldwide, standing out isn't easy, and trust can set you apart. Let's get into it. Bastian, welcome to our studio, and it's very nice to have you here. Today we'll be talking about trust and trusted shops, obviously, but before we get into all that, let's get to know you first.
Yeah, thanks for having me at first. I'm Bastian, so I'm the CPO, so the Chief Product Officer of Trusted Shops. And probably a bit to my career, I started Trusted Shops 2009. So I joined the team. It was like 40 people at that time.
Wow.
Startup, everyone did everything. And then step by step, I was able to grow with the company. And at that time, also the growth of Trusted Shops started. The enormous growth of e-commerce. So step by step, I took over different responsibilities inside Trusted Shops, and now being responsible for the entire product portfolio.
Yeah, that's super cool. I know Trusted Shops from the past. As I used to work at ePages as the CMO, I worked with Trusted Shops on an operational level, and I know that Trusted Shops has been a loyal exhibitor of our expo for 7 years. You've seen us grow, and we've seen you grow. I think it's incredible what the company has achieved throughout these years. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how your role has evolved within the company, and we can also then talk about Trusted Shops a little bit more.
Oh, exactly. Okay, good. So, honestly, you must know that I have a background in business and law, which usually is not the best prerequisite for a CPO, honestly. But at that time, which were in the early 2000s, I was very keen to understand all these regulations and why do companies need to act according to law, etc., etc. But unfortunately, then I worked in a marketing agency, and which was okay for the first time, and it was my first job. But honestly, I sold marketing brochures, after-sales marketing brochures, to big automotive corporations. And the problem was I could not really identify myself with that job because personally, I would have thrown these kind of marketing brochures immediately in the garbage, right?
Yeah, totally.
But I did that because I need money for a living. And then luckily in 2009, there was this job application for Trusted Shop or from Trusted Shops, and they were seeking for someone who is assessing and improving online shops to really figure out if they comply with a certain set of criteria. So in the end, it's like a compliance topic, and that's why we had this connection. Okay, compliance is similar to law.
Yeah.
And said, okay, that's something cool. And honestly,
you're like better than flyers. Okay.
Exactly. So, and honestly, it was like Trusted Shops at that time had the slogan, the safe way to web shopping. And I said, okay, right now I'm doing some strange things, and here I could make the internet a better place.
Yeah.
That the purpose was pretty compelling to me. So, and that's why I said, okay, I need to apply to that job. And luckily, I was chosen in 2009. And again, I started as a certifier. That's how we call them. I checked online shops throughout the day, every week, every month. And luckily, step by step, our business model seemed to be quite good. And we could grow the team from like 10 people to 20 to 30 to 40, etc. And step by step, I took over this responsibility over this entire certification. But there's one aspect in my career which is true, that every 3 to 4 years or 2 to 3 years, there is a break or gap. I do something different. So afterwards, then we build up our entire consumer business, because usually Trusted Shops is seen as a B2B service provider.
Yeah.
But in fact, our business model is B2B2C, because the ones who are like leaving reviews, are using the buyer protection, are watching and looking for the trust mark are the consumers.
Yeah.
So that's why we said, okay, we need to have like also an offering for them. And then at that time, it was like 2015, for instance. We built up a new subscription for consumers who are offering different services. And that turned out to be a very good idea, because right now we have like over 40 million, so 40 million subscribers,
wow.
which is great. And we grow by 10 to 15K a day right now. And we see that there is need for security, safety, convenience when it comes to online shopping. And so step by step, I went into this, scalability
Which
and
product
automation.
is that? The community of trust, or?
Yes, it's what we internally we call it like the consumer membership. So in the end, Trusted Shops is built up on the one hand on businesses, so on business members as we call them. Right now, roughly 30K, and tens of millions of consumers. Yeah. So, and the aim is that we want to connect both. So with different products, and for the consumers, we offer a certain feature set. One very important aspect is the buyer protection, which is included, but all different services to enable you that you have like a very, not only safe, but convenient online shopping to create that peace of mind, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not like an insurance as you would expect that. It's much more than that. Yeah. And people are willing just to say, yes, I'm just signing up. And also they're willing to spend money for it, because they just want it to be safe and don't want to be concerned about anything. Yeah. Because online shopping is fun, right? So I'm very happy just to click on the button, say, yes, in 2 days I get that good. I'm wishing for. And therefore, we want to encourage them to do that more often. Yeah. And therefore, removing all these obstacles, like, do I get the money? Do I get the good? If something happens, do I get support, etc.? And with that, we offered such kind of subscription. Yeah. And that was a very good one. So step by step, since we're talking about millions and millions of people, we just say, okay, we need to scale, we need to automate, we need tech in the end, and therefore we added additional product teams to it, etc., etc. So, and long story short, right now ending up then together with my peer, so with my CTO, running the entire product development departments, different business streams beside, and all services around our products. So that is quite a journey, and it's still interesting.
It's super exciting to me, because I don't know if you realize in previous episodes, we've kind of always had this focus on the leadership element, also on the people, because at some point I realized on LinkedIn so many messages are reaching to us and me. Hey, I got inspired by the personal journey of this person that you had interviewed. So like a lot of aspiring e-commerce personalities want to go to the next level in their career, and like how you started at this company, and how even the company evolved over the years and giving you the chance to tap into some other areas. And you said every 3 years you were tending to have a new challenge, and it's especially in a growing company like you guys, it's possible. And I've had that in my personal career as well, and I know for a fact that so many people out there are inspired by that. Thank you for sharing that journey.
You're welcome.
And going back to trusted shops now. So you mentioned like around 80 million. Did I get that right? 80 million customers?
40.
Yeah, sorry. I doubled
80
it.
in a few years.
I come from marketing, you know?
Sure. No, it's just we need to be transparent and honest, so it's 40.
40 million, and then around 30,000 B2B like shops that implement your solution.
Exactly.
That's huge. How many employees do you have?
Roughly 700.
700. Wow, you started at 40 employees at the company, and now so many more. That's impressive. And I think comparing you to the likes of Händlerbund, IT Rechtskanzlei, and stuff like this, I think you have also an international focus. You are in several European markets, as far as I know. Can you tell us a little bit about your footprint in the European continent?
Yeah, sure. So we consider ourselves to be a European company, right? So because in the end, also from the idea of e-commerce, it's like there is no border in e-commerce because it's super simple online to buy any good anywhere. So, and therefore it's not like that we said we want to stick to the DACH market, so Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. It was our starting point, honestly, because, well, we are based in Cologne, so Köln, which is a very, let's say, German city. But in the end, we ever said that if we want to offer a peace of mind e-commerce experience, it's not just up to Germany. Since also our customers, our B2B customers, maybe they're also located originally in Germany, but they want to also like send their goods and their services abroad. So to grow. And also we said, okay, we want to grow. We want at the end to be Europe's community of trust, as we say.
Totally.
And we want to like have one promise to consumers on the one hand and to businesses on the other hand, and to help them to connect with confidence. That is what we do. And therefore we said, no, we want also to consider all these cultural differences and aspects, which differs from France to the Netherlands to UK to Spain, and all these cultures trust differently. But however, the core remains kind of the same, and that's why step by step, like we started the internationalization more than 10 years ago, like 12 to 15 years ago. First to France, since our co-founder Jean-Marc is French, so that was very obvious that we say no, we need to have like a subsidiary there in the French market and the footprint, and then Netherlands, UK, Spain, Poland, so everywhere almost, in order again to support and guide our members on the one hand, and honestly also to expand our TAM, so to say, our total addressable market.
Yeah, that sounds very compelling. Could it be fair to say that you're like TÜV for cars, but TÜV for e-commerce? So that you mentioned you started with a certification, like so. Maybe you can walk us through how you certify over 30,000 customers and how you help them. What kind of mechanisms you have in place for these people to just certify themselves and have you guys so that if I personally have a market research possibility at home, every time I have a question how a typical consumer would interact with websites, I just ask my wife, and she has absolutely nothing to do with e-commerce, and it's very exciting because then I'm like, hey, also I asked her a couple of weeks ago, what makes you trust an online shop? You know, that she's like, yeah, there are these like, there's the lock in the HTTPS, you know, like there's the lock up there, and there's like a nice design. Also, it doesn't have like weird promises, you know, and then there are these symbols like certificates, and this is one of the things that you provide, right?
Exactly.
That you mentioned, like the consumer sees this and it has an impact on the business. It has a very huge impact, as a matter of fact. I want to get to that, but yeah, maybe tell us first how you help companies become more trusted by the consumers.
All right. So first of all, we don't consider ourselves to be the TÜV for internet. We consider ourselves to be trusted shops for the internet. Yeah. No, just kidding. But your question is a very good one. How do we help businesses to be more trustworthy? And in the end, it's not to be trustworthy; it's more to earn trust from the consumers, because they don't buy any piece of trust from us. They just need to earn it. We try to provide them and equip them with all necessary solutions. But they do need to earn that trust by themselves. So that's very important. So what we do, and also that's where we started at the very beginning, where we offered the trust mark, which in the end is a symbol that this shop is trustworthy. And with the trust mark comes the buyer protection along. So that's in the end a money back guarantee. If anything happens, the consumers can be sure that they will get the money back from us. We'll maybe come to that later as well. So, but the problem with providing solutions to earn trust is that you need to figure out what is really trust and how is, what creates trust, right? Yeah. So maybe let me give you some history of trust. Because back in the days, there was what we called this local trust. Well, people were living in small villages, and there was the family around and probably the neighbors, and they trust them. But they didn't trust anyone from village above the hill. So they were strangers. So, and that was this more or less local trust. And then this kind of institutional trust arose, if the church says so, I believe it. So, or in, the 20th century, it was big brands like Volkswagen or Deutsche Bank in Germany. They were very trustworthy companies, right? So, and if you have seen an advertising, you have trusted them saying, yes, that's a great car. And they say it's so safe and performant, etc., etc. But unfortunately, 10 to 20 years ago, there were some issues with also that companies, diesel crisis, and also at Deutsche Bank. So this trust erodes, kind of, right? And interestingly, within the recent 10 to 15 years, there was a new kind of trust that was distributed trust. Distributed trust. What is that?
Interesting.
You trust strangers probably more than anyone else. Why? It sounds super weird, but it's a matter of fact. Because why? Well, just open your smartphone and look for a new venue, or a hotel or apartment at Airbnb. What you do is, yes, you filter price, etc., etc. But in the end, it's up to the ratings, to the reviews. So from someone you have never met. So, but as long as it's well described, and it's probably 20 or 100 people saying, yes, that's great, a great venue, beautiful view, a good host, etc., etc. You trust these people you have never met. You have never met in your life.
Totally.
And that's why it's distributed. And fourth, probably a new era right now, it's personalized trust. Because you trust people differently than I do. So, and for you are other information relevant than for me. So it's super individual, right? So, and that's something which comes up right now. But for all of these different kinds of trust, especially institutional trust, distributed trust and personalized trust, we try to find a solution and to equip our members with services. So, for instance, the trust mark. It says a third party, so us, has proven that I am trustworthy, that I'm doing a good job, that I do my very best to comply with legal regulations, to offer transparency,
certain set of standards.
A certain set of standards. We call them quality criteria. So, and that is something what we do internally. And then, honestly, no one complies to that at the first time. So we provide them with what we call an audit report, and they can improve. So, and at a certain time, they comply to all criteria, and they get awarded. But the most important thing is the prerequisite is the feedback of others. Because at the one hand, we say, before we run this certification process, you need to show that you are doing a good job. Yeah. And then reviews come into place, saying you need to show that you are delivering the goods, that you are doing a good service. And then we collect the feedback of others with our review software and see what is the feedback, what is the experience. And if it's good, we can start the certification process. And last but not least, the third point is then, if you have been awarded with a trust mark, we are so convinced that you are a great merchant, we are offering the money back guarantee for all your customers, up to 20,000 euros for each purchase.
Wow.
So, and that's in the end our set of
each basket, so to speak.
For each basket.
Yeah.
No matter if like you purchase twice a year or 100 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, it's payment type independent. So no matter invoice or PayPal or Klarna or whatsoever.
So it's in your best interest to be very strict with this criteria, decreasing your risk for potential, that you having to pay these cases where there's fraud or anything.
Exactly, but it's not for our own purpose.
Yeah.
Because in the end, what we want is that our symbols and our services are also trustworthy, in that we have like a high reputation.
Yeah,
because
totally.
Only if these services,
your institutional trust,
and also distributed trust, right? So, but the thing is, we provide our merchants with a trust mark, with the reviews, with the buyer protection, and only if the consumers are accepting and are relying on these kind of services, also the business members benefits from it, right?
Yeah.
Because in the end, it's every time a calculation. I need to spend a certain amount of money for the membership of trusted shops, and I want to have a return on investment.
Yeah.
And I only get that return on investment if also the consumers are willing to buy more often, to a higher price, etc., and also retain at that specific shop, because, well, our symbols are not the only, but are one aspect to convince them to at least stay at that shop or to retain at that shop as well, right?
Yeah, totally. So when you look at, we talked about it briefly. When you look at shops right now, maybe you can tell us a little bit about, maybe you guys even have a checklist. Hey, these things are absolute must to gain the trust of your customers.
Yeah.
Like maybe a first time customer walks into the website. What do they look at?
Yeah. Well, I would start even earlier. So if you have the consumer journey in mind, like, or from the view of the merchant, it's like attracting, converting, and retaining customers. Yeah. So the full journey, it starts not only at the point where the consumer accesses the shop or enters the shop, but earlier, like at your advertising, where you also should attract customers and demonstrate your trustworthiness. So that's the first time. So advertising, I would say, starting with advertising and also using symbols and information which proves that you are reliable,
such as
reviews, for instance.
Yeah.
So what you see along the way every time, especially for products as well, and even more, but also for you being a merchant or an online store, saying a lot of people have been proven that I'm reliable. So that's probably I can give you some examples from customers of us.
Yeah, that's great.
So I can give you right now with the advertising part. SNOCKS, for instance.
Yeah.
Well, I guess everyone knows SNOCKS. Pretty impressive growth in the recent years. And what they did is they're customers of us, and they wanted to find out what is the impact of showing the trust mark in reviews in their advertisement.
Yeah.
So and what we've seen, and they did some commercials on YouTube and on TikTok, that by displaying symbols like the trust mark or reviews, their ROAS, so their return on advertising spent, increased by 25% on TikTok and on more than 100% on YouTube. which was impressive. So that was really impressive. And therefore, again, we need also every merchant needs to start there, not only at his or her shop. So once consumers are at the shop, for sure there are some obvious aspects like design patterns. It should not look ugly, right? So there are some niche shops, obviously, which look tremendously ugly but provide a great service. But in the end, people are expecting to a certain extent, professionalization also when it comes to design patterns. Nowadays, with all like these shop software providers and vendors, it should not be that problem.
Just jump in quickly. This book from Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow. It also said like there are two types of the brain. First, fast-thinking brain and the slow-thinking brain. The slow-thinking brain tends to be a little bit more critical. So most of the time when the customer comes in and all of a sudden some things look odd, like it smells like sketchy, you know, and then they are in alert mode, like slow-thinking brain kicks in. They are no longer in this buy mode anymore. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's kind of distracting people. And once they are distracted, they start thinking, right? And if they if they start thinking, the chance lowers that they will just select product and go to the checkout, right? So, and that's why everyone is talking about bounce rates, because you need to have like this first good view at first sight, right? Yes, it looks quite familiar. Okay, it looks like a shop. Okay, I go ahead. So that's why design. Secondly, you need to offer something like contact data. Because in the end, trust is also about benevolence. So, and if I don't see at least like a telephone number or who's offering me that service, then that's kind of concerning to me, at least, because I want to understand and to know, very simple, who is the merchant, who is the one where I buy the good from. And also this telephone number, not because I want to call you, definitely not at all, but I want to have the ability that...
Peace of mind.
Yeah, exactly. And to have, in fact, if there is something, I could call you, even though I would not ever do that. But that's an aspect. So also this, all about this About Us page, right? So it's that because I wanted to demonstrate that is who we are, that's our purpose, blah, 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 to give you more information about me as a merchant, to convince you that you get to know me. So fourth point is product pages, obviously, have the right information, which convince me. It's not only a matter of converting them, it's also, do I trust you that that is the right product? So, and also product images, the description, etc. Then it comes to checkout. And the checkout also is very important. What do I mean with that? Like, do I offer different payment types? Not only payment types where you need to pay in advance. So if I just say, you can also like invoicing, for instance, then also I trust you as a consumer that you are willing to I don't know, pay afterwards. So it's my personal risk, but then it's every time it's a give and take, right? Trust is always a give and take. Payment types, and for sure also once I received my goods, and there is something to provide a great service, because nowadays it's not only converting new customers, everyone is talking about retaining customers. Retaining customers, because the price you need to pay to retain them is much lower than to convince new customers for buying at your shop. And everything around that, there are different other aspects like demonstrating trust with obviously trust symbols, like trust marks, could be different ones, could be ours, but also reviews, because in the end, reviews is a proof that other people has had a pretty good experience at your shop. So, and here you can use that on different touch points, in the checkout, at the product pages, in the advertising. So that's something where I would say like a super weapon, which you can use everywhere.
And especially reviews. I think also video reviews are gaining some popularity. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes and no. It depends on the use case. So for video reviews, you need to spend a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Because you need to watch that like 1 minute or 2 minutes. And often people don't want to invest that time. Video reviews are perfect for product reviews, for instance. Like, okay, that's the good. This is how it feels. This is how I don't know how I tried it out, etc., etc.
Unboxing also.
Unboxing, for instance. But again, people sometimes get then in this video and then they jump from video to video to video instead of buying in your online shop.
True.
So it's always, you need to figure out where you can use video reviews.
Yeah.
It's great for products, probably not that great for you as showing trustworthiness of you as a merchant.
Yeah.
But for product reviews, it can work.
And what's your opinion about fake reviews? Because for many years it's been discussed in e-commerce circles that a lot of reviews on some platforms are maybe up to half of the reviews on some platforms are complete fake.
Yeah.
So how do you go about that?
Well, it's a huge problem, honestly.
Yeah.
Fake reviews is definitely a huge problem. Well, at different platforms, we also remember like Amazon, where you have like this tremendous amount of fake reviews when it comes to product reviews. Because the thing is, product or reviews overall, as we said, are very important to support upselling and to support the sales overall. So there's I would say a concern or a motivation that you fake these reviews for better sales. So, and that's why I think within the last 5 years, you also in the newspapers, you've seen a lot of news that there were fake reviews. So it's a tremendous threat, honestly.
Yeah.
And also we are working towards avoiding fake reviews for sure with different technological aspects to really ensure that the reviews holds what they promise, and that is an authentic insight and view of the experience of others.
Yeah, but it at the end, as soon as any human being is involved, there's tremendous of effort and time that would be allocated to like validating the authenticity of these reviews. And even then, with the advancement of AI technologies, it's getting even more difficult for humans to differentiate what's fake and what's not, I guess.
Well, that's right. So yes, on the one hand, yes. On the other hand, you can also use the technology for your own purposes, right? So the good thing at Trusted Shops is that we are keen that every review is based on a real experience. What does it mean? We are integrated in all of these 30,000 customers' shops. So with our technology. So we get and we receive the information and the data of that purchase. And based on that data, we send out what we call review invitations to those
tied
consumers.
To a transaction always.
It's transaction related, exactly. So, and that's why we can say, okay, this is the transaction. We, as the provider, send out this invite to the consumer and asking them, asking him just to leave or her a review. And then we can ensure that this review we received and then forward to the merchant is really based on that transaction. Yeah. That's super important because there are a lot of platforms out there which don't have this connection between the transaction, interaction, and the review. You can just Google, you can just leave reviews everywhere. That's one aspect. The second aspect is that we also have data from consumers. So because we also are not talking about trusted shops, we're also talking about trusted consumers or trusted buyers, right? Yeah. So, and based on this information, we can also identify, is there something strange, or do we need to go into the details? That's the second aspect. So we collect this information to prove the authenticity of the review. Thirdly, there is also what I mentioned with AI. We can use AI also for the good and not only for the bad. Yeah. And figuring out, based on all this information we aggregate and the text that is written, what is the likeliness of the authenticity of that review? Yeah. And last but not least, yes, as you said, we have big dedicated team which ensures every day that all these reviews are checked, are authentic, and probably last but not least, also what we call the community has the possibility to just report reviews saying, that is kind of suspicious right now. Please have a look. And then an alert pings up at that expert team, and then we go really into the weeds.
Then the Trusted Shops police comes and takes a look.
Exactly.
Yeah, really insightful. I really like how you mentioned the SNOCKS example. Shout out to SNOCKS and Johannes. I'm a podcaster, and I also like their podcast. Listen to that often. Talking about data and the impact of trust on conversions, also quite interesting. Can you tell us a little bit about how lack of trust can be a conversion killer, or to turn that around, how having more trust can be a conversion booster?
Yeah, probably I start with an example.
Yeah.
And this example is Flyeralarm.
Yeah.
Probably you know also this big brand, Flyeralarm, print on demand.
Big advertisements recently also in billboards and stuff.
Exactly, or at like Bundesliga or at the Nationalmannschaft in Germany. So pretty famous and well known. So I would say is really Flyeralarm keen to demonstrate again their trust because they're such a big brand and so well known. But the thing is, they're also customers of Trusted Shops and members of Trusted Shops. And what we did is we integrated some snippets and widgets of the reviews they collected with us in their checkout.
Yeah.
Not like as the most important information, for sure not, but just to give the consumers the last kick to be convinced, say, yes, I have paperwork of like 20 or even 200 euros. And now I need to click and, okay, these reviews demonstrate that they're good. Okay, I will do it. Yeah. So, and what we've seen with this specific example, that for Flyeralarm, they had an increase of 2% of their revenue. So that was a pretty good deal for them, honestly, because 2% of increase in revenue for Flyeralarm is quite a good sum.
Yeah, it's a good ROI.
It's a good ROI. and having said that, and demonstrating this example shows that in the end, what I said, it's attracting and also converting customers because people come with a specific intention to your shop. Usually they know what they want to buy. They come from Google or from Idealo or from any platform.
Or they got an influence on social.
Exactly. Or they got an influencer code, like, I don't know, 20% discount, whatsoever. So usually they usually know what they want. The thing is then, it's not only just convincing them that's the right product, because usually they know, but that you are the right provider. So, and as mentioned before, there are many information you can support them by being convinced, but on the other hand, it's then a matter of, do I believe in your service?
Yeah.
So, and then using these trust symbols and trying to build this reliability and credibility helps honestly a lot to also increase the likeliness of converting consumers.
Yeah, Bastian, we've talked a fair amount about the notion of trust. You talked about institutional trust. You talked about distributed trust and personalized trust, which I think very kind of enlightened my perspective. But at the end, I think it's also trust is a puzzle, right? So it has many pieces.
Exactly.
I think also brand plays an important role in establishing that trust across the journey. And then you gave the example of how you start much earlier in the journey, not just at the end. So I think also payment is a important puzzle piece, because cart abandonment is a reality. So when people don't find the right payment methods or that they trust, they will also, regardless of how much you can do, it has to be a complete picture, right? So all the way at the end, they also want to see, you said it's both ways. So you also have to show the customer that you trust them, have some invoicing options. Found it very insightful. What I want to ask you to wrap things up is, do you have, we also have wide range of SMBs and also enterprise watching this podcast. So for the beginners especially, this can be quite challenging. You know, the trust is a big topic, and like having e-commerce from logistics to marketing, it's a big engine. Do you have 3 key takeaways how they can approach the topic of trust, or tips or advice?
Well, for the entrepreneurs, I would say, for the ones who are starting their business, I would say start with the basics. Really start with the basics. And probably it's not trusted shops at the very beginning. It's like building up a good online shop and simply doing a great job.
Yeah.
So simply doing a great job and offering good products and serving their customers as good as they can. So that's the starting point for everything. Secondly, once I've been there and I achieved that level of professionalization, I should ask my customers about their opinion.
Yeah.
Because for 2 reasons. The first reason is I receive a lot of insights from my customers, what I can do better, where can I improve processes, my goods, my online shop, how do I provide information, etc. That's a great channel. And on the other hand, I can use these feedbacks for advertising purposes, very simply on my online shop. That's also important. And step by step, then I would say expanding my services. That is then the third step, meaning what you said, different payment types, adding also different types of delivery options, etc., and then getting into this really conscious decision and development on how to improve this reliability at my different touch points, and then start figuring out, running A/B tests, where do I have the best return on investment, etc., etc. But that is, I would say, step number 3.
Yeah. And I did have one more question that I forgot
Please.
to ask. In 2024 or 25 almost, did we become more, in this year, did we become more skeptic? And do we have more or less trust as consumers?
I would say probably a bit more skeptic. Why? E-commerce has become a commodity. Obviously, everyone is used to e-commerce. But trust is not something that changes overnight. It's built on experiences and also conditions around us. Meaning that in the recent years, there were a lot of developments, beginning in 2022 with the horrible war in the Ukraine, the inflation, and all these crises we see right now in the Middle East. That is one aspect where people are probably a bit more reluctant to spend money.
Yeah.
That is what we see also in e-commerce in the recent years. It got better in 2024, where we see again a growth in e-commerce overall. But however, people are more consciously deciding where they want to spend their money. Mm-hmm. So still, they want to be convinced that it's the right investment.
Yes.
So, and therefore, the expectations are higher that the merchants must provide at the right time the right set of information to you as a human being, and not just to the audience. That you as a consumer feel convinced that that is the right decision you take right now. So that's why they are probably a bit more skeptical, or they require more information, I would say. Secondly, with the rise of AI, everyone right now is talking about Gen AI, new content, etc., etc. But also there is a threat of fake, fake information, and with new technology in early 2024, there was like an announcement that in China, like 1,500 shops were released, fake shops were released, like we called that like fake shop as a service, which is super strange, but to betray consumers, obviously. So, and that's why also like people are they spend more time to really identify, can I trust that kind of content or whatever I see on the internet?
Yeah.
So, and therefore, again, what we see, especially for 2025, that we all, so service providers, merchants, etc., we need to understand that when it comes to earning and building trust, we need to have like a more personalized approach.
Yeah.
To really understand what are your needs, what is important for you, and to provide you with all information you need, not the audience need. You need that you can build up this trust to me, and then in the end to be convinced that it's the right decision to buy at my shop. And that's a challenge, but that's, I think, something which will definitely be there, because in the end, the more we use the internet, the more data are available. We need to understand that also the expectations from consumers grow and grow and grow. And we want to convince you as a single person and not just you as a customer.
Yeah.
And that is our challenge for today.
I think that's a beautiful way to end things. As with all things, no innovation comes with absolute safety net. There will be challenges, and it's good to see that you have some work to do always. And you're a growing company. For me, before this talk, to be frank, I thought I know trusted shops quite well, but I learned a lot still, and I'm pretty sure our audience will also have some concrete takeaways after this. Thank you so much for your time. I truly enjoyed this conversation, and we'll see us at the expo.
Thank you very much, and see you at the expo.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the EGN Podcast. If you found our discussion insightful, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channels on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Your support helps us grow and improve our content. See you next time.